Awesome, Michael. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. We're excited to be able to learn a little bit more about Closeline Settlements and the process there and how you can help our investors here at Amplify. So if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself briefly and giving a little bit of background on your guys' company.
Thanks, Brighton. My name is Michael with Closeline Settlements. We've been in business for 26 years. We've been doing nationwide business for about 25 years. We used to have 26 offices all over the country, and now basically are 2 offices. I'm in my headquarters here in Rockville, Maryland, and we close deals and purchase deals in 40 states for investors. We work with a number of nationwide investors who close deals all over the country, and we do them in a number of different ways. We're a pretty diversified title company. We do a lot of business with new development, foreclosures, bankruptcies. We do a lot of work with investors, nationwide lenders, purchases all over the country. So we've got a good range of experience and people who know how to get through situations. Obviously, with a lot of these investor deals, there are a number of different situations that present themselves. There's a lot of different title clearing issues, as we call them, and sticky situations and estate deals and pre-foreclosures and short sales and judgments and just about everything you can imagine to get through. And we've got experience in all that. We've been doing it for 25, 26 years. And, we've got a great process for these virtual wholesale and investor deals, fix and flip transactions. And we can get them closed pretty much anywhere in the country.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you know off the top of your head what 10 states you don't issue titles in?
The 10 states we're not doing purchase transactions in are Texas and California are the 2 big ones. Utah, Nevada, Washington, Oregon, Hawaii, and Alaska. I think that's New Mexico we're also not doing. I don't know how many was that.
I lost track. No, you did.
But we do the entire East Coast.
Okay, mostly out west though.
Midwest, and there's a lot of southern states that have attorney requirements. We also have an affiliated law firm that we work with of in-house lawyers. So you'll basically have a single point of contact, and we can still close transactions in those states operating as both attorney and title. So.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I know we have investors all over the country, a lot out east, so that's going to be music to their ears. So tell me a little bit more about the process from the point one of our investors maybe gets a home under contract. Should they be using the contract that they have? Just kind of walk me through the entire process so our investors understand.
All right, so certainly I can provide a very good assignment contract. We would appreciate it if everyone likes it, if everyone uses it. I mean, the more standardization, the more, we can get solid contracts, the better. We see so many different types of contracts out there that, I'll certainly give them. You can use them if you'd like to. So starting with the process, basically we have an email address called investorclosings at closeline.com, and I can provide that to you.
Yeah.
Got our team of client services, schedulers, processors, our operations manager, and myself all on there. So it's a relatively large team, and we like to have all the docs come in, just about all the communication coming to that one place, because you're going to get the fastest response. Everyone's going to see it, and everyone within our team has their own role to, deal with those emails. So we'd appreciate it if you utilize that email address. We like to start off by getting both contracts, or the only contract if there's only one, the contract with the seller and the assignment contract or whatever other contract that you have, and buyer and seller contact information. So phone and email address. So if you can just provide all of that to us in the beginning, as well as if you know anything about the property. Is there a pending tax sale? Are there judgments against the seller? Is there a mortgage? Whatever you can provide to us. I mean, it'll come up in our title search, but we can get started on it faster, and we know what we're getting ourselves into. Maybe we can rectify some of those some of those issues, or address them with the seller prior to get the title search back. So we will reach out to both the buyer and the seller, give them a call, introduce ourselves, let them know that an email is coming with a checklist that we need them to fill out. It's very important that the seller gets us back that checklist quickly. It's got a bunch of important information on it for us to order payoffs, clear title, etc. So we'll basically walk through the process, the timelines, the process for closing, which is very important for everybody, how they're going to get their money, answer any questions that they have, and introduce ourselves and give them our contacts so they can reach out to us. We order the title search. Everything's done on a rush, so we basically treat all closings as soon as possible closings. Title search is on a rush. Once we get the title search back, it's quickly reviewed, and then our title clearing department starts clearing title, gathering everything we need. The processor will start gathering, bills, taxes, etc., to get that file ready as soon as possible. And then once it's ready, we'll reach out to the investor, have a conversation, email, see if they know anything about who wants to close where and when. Sometimes they've had those conversations, and some investors are more hands-on than others. If they haven't, either way, we reach out to the buyer and the seller to talk about closing, okay? We've got a number of different options for closing. I think that's the biggest advantage that we have over many other title companies in terms of the virtual transactions. We do the RON closings, which are remote online notarizations, which are very popular right now. And basically, it's a digital closing with a digital notarization, and a ton of states have approved it. Recently, I'll just run through that list real quick. So we've got Arizona, Florida, Idaho, District of Columbia, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, and Wisconsin. So there's a number of states that do RON closings, and people are loving it right now with COVID-19.
Yeah.
There are still a number of states that are not doing it. So in those states that they're not doing it, we still have the option to send out a mobile closer. Basically, we've been doing mobile closings for 25 years where we hire somebody as basically a third party to go out. A lot of these people we've worked with many times over 25 years. They go out, they print out the documents, they take them to the customer, they sign with the seller, and bring them back, and they get them to us generally electronically, but also FedEx them back to us, and we deal with them from that point. So obviously the seller has a deed that needs to get notarized. So either the RON or that mobile notary is the way to go. We do mailaways, but we don't prefer them. There are just security issues with having somebody sign a deed that we didn't hire to go sign with them. Mm-hmm. We can do it though, depending on, as long as we take our fraud prevention measures. The buyer side, generally they're cash. If it's a cash buyer, in every state we have a no notarization package that can be signed via DocuSign. It's not even a remote online notarization. It's just literally a DocuSign, and we can ensure, as long as we get the money and send it to their email address and they fill it out via DocuSign. If there's a notarization, a hard money lender or something, we have the same options, the RON and the mobile closer that I told you about. Mm-hmm. We can also do a mail away, but we really hardly ever do those to the buyer side or the seller side. In terms of the HUD or the CD, we send a full HUD to the investor to look at. Generally first, we like to get approval from them unless it's kind of last minute. We send a blind HUD to the seller, a blind HUD to the buyer. The seller will not see any assignment fee. They won't see that it double closed. They won't see anything like that. The buyer, however, will see the original sales price and the assignment fee to total what they agreed to. So, the blind HUDs are important. Then basically, once we've scheduled with everybody, we get the docs out, we get them back, as I mentioned earlier, and we move toward recording and getting money out. We send the investors free of charge wire. Sellers obviously have FedEx check or wire or however they really want to receive the funds, which I know is important to everybody. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's basically a typical file, and it can be done. We're actually in Rockville, Maryland. We can do a wholesale transaction in Rockville, Maryland, just the same as we can do it in Arizona or another state. So the process is the same. We have a single point of contact, and it's pretty seamless process.
Awesome. And so let me ask you this, what are like the biggest snags or holdups you've seen throughout the process? Is it just not having a good contract to begin with? Is it communication between you and the seller? What helps it make it run as smoothly as possible, and how can we get ahead of those?
A good contract is a good start, and that's why I'm going to provide you with the assignment contract that I mentioned earlier. Hopefully everyone wants to use it. The initial contract is normally not the issue. Generally, it's buyer pays all closing costs, but then you deal with a poor assignment contract, buyers not knowing what kind of contract they're taking on since they're being assigned the original contract. Contract's a major issue, but generally we can get that fixed. But sometimes you have addendums and things, and it just slows us down from really getting started. The other major hiccup is, sellers not getting us information. I hate to say it, but a lot of the sellers that we deal with are in, poor financial situations or have a lot of judgments against them or federal tax liens or
Mhm.
something, or just their spouse died and they're not used to dealing with paperwork because that's what their spouse did or whatever the situation may be. Some of them are older, and getting just a simple checklist from them is can be difficult sometimes.
Okay. So if it's helpful and the investor has a good relationship with the seller, you would advise them to kind of walk them through that process if it's possible. But you guys do mostly just communicate directly to the seller, correct?
Yeah, so we try to have all of our communication go through the buyer and the seller. We do have to communicate with the investor sometimes, but generally that's about the contract. It's not necessarily about gathering information from either side.
Okay.
So the investors are a little bit more hands-on than others. Now that I think about it, I can provide you with a seller checklist that if the investors wanted to get signed up front, which many of ours do, and it's very helpful. It's basically a payoff authorization that has a signature from them and a social security number written on, and then just some basic information. How's water? Is it sewer? Is there an HOA? All that types of information. Just tell us everything you know about the property. Is there a mortgage? What's the loan number? Who's it with? And that type of stuff really makes the transaction go a lot faster. I can't tell you how important that is to have that seller information, especially up front. So I'll
Awesome.
provide you with that. They can have that template and maybe get it signed with the initial seller, from the get-go.
Awesome. I think that would be extremely helpful, and we'll make sure to communicate this to all of our investors if they want to reach out to you directly. So how should they reach out to you, and what's the best way to communicate? Is it just send an email directly to that email that you referenced earlier? Do you have a
Yeah,
number that they can call?
the investor closings at closeline.com is the way that basically the only email address that you need to be communicating with. You'll get responses from different people, et cetera. But if you just send over documentation, both contracts, contact information for buyer, seller, and if there's an agent or a JV, send over that agreement and get us that contact information for them as well. Okay. Often we run into situations where there's a JV and the other investor doesn't want to give us the end buyer's contact information.
Yeah.
Just tell them we need the contact information. I know they're worried about stealing clients and things. I don't know how real of a concern that is. Maybe you all know better than I do, but we need that information. I need it to get them to sign documents. And sometimes we get all the way down to the very end. It's like the day before closing and I can't call them, and it can create problems. So
Okay.
yeah, the investor closings at closeline.com, all contact information, all docs can go there. And we'll get back to you quickly from that email address.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Michael, thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us this morning. Do you have any final thoughts or anything that you'd like to say before we end the call?
Uh, no, I mean, listen, we're here. Maybe I do.
You're good.
We want the investor to do well,
Definitely.
because then we'll do well, right?
Absolutely.
So we want to limit the fees to the investors. We, if it's a if it's a wholesale transaction, we always recommend an assignment. There are no fees charged to the investor. They're not going to have closing costs. They're not going to be buying a property and then selling a property. So assignments are much preferred. We do double closings, but either way, we try, whatever the transaction, whatever the setup, we try to reduce any fees to the investor or have no fees, which is, most every time. And because we want you all to do well and we want them to get closed. The more we get closed for you, the better you'll be doing, the more you want to stay in it and build your business, and you can build it together with us. And we can do, 40 states. So I think we can help most of you, just kind of streamline your business, make this easier, and not have to deal with calling around to different title companies all over the place and spend so much time trying to find somebody that's investor friendly. And so look forward to building a partnership with Amplify My Business and all of the investors. And thank you for the time, Britton.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Michael. We'll get this out to everyone, and I'm sure you will have many people reach out to you. So thank you, and best luck. Stay safe during these crazy times.
You too. Thanks.